So, VK on the beat, check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get a city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get a city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get a city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1107 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals for your home and your business. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Electronic Products Recycling Association. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. And Canna Cabana. The lowest prices on cannabis. Guaranteed. Over 100 stores across the country. Learn more at cannacabana.com. Today, making her Toronto Mic debut is Hannah Sung. Welcome, Hannah.
Hi, thank you so much, Mike.
What a pleasure it is to meet you.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, you have to say that, okay? Because you know gifts are coming your way. Now, let me get this out of the way, if you don't mind. Because when I said, I put on Twitter, Hannah is making her Toronto Mic debut, and not one, not two, but multiple people all kind of chimed in and said, here, I'll give credit to some specific FOTMs. Hold on. So Brian Dunn, I want to shout out Brian. He says, get the BTS loaded up.
Thank you, Brian.
Here's another name that'll come up later, but Garcia Bailey. Beautiful, she says. Hannah is a joy. I'll be the judge of that, Garvia, but she loves BTS. If you're looking for a jam that will make her feel at home. So this is to relax you. Welcome. You tweeted you were a bit nervous.
I did.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's totally true, but I appreciate the BTS welcome. Thank you so much.
When did you first fall in love with BTS?
2020, in the pandemic. I was on YouTube, and I don't know what I was searching up and what my algorithm was doing, but it served me the VMAs. Maybe I was trying to watch the VMAs, the MTV VMAs, and BTS was on.
Of course.
And yeah, and I saw their performance, and I was just massively hooked. I was watching it over and over and over, and then, of course, YouTube just basically took over. And now it's embarrassing, actually, what my YouTube looks like.
Yeah, once that algorithm gets a grip on you, you're kind of screwed, right, Hannah? Like now they're going to they said, oh, we found out what she digs. Here, let me hear a bit of this horn. So I went to YouTube and I searched BTS and I just decided, how do I choose, what song? 'Cause I don't actually, I know the Popcorn song.
Which would be?
Is it called Popcorn? Do they have a song called Popcorn?
I mean,
okay.
Do they? They have a million songs.
I feel like there was a big hit called Popcorn.
Do you mean Dynamite?
No, wait a minute. I'm going to Google it.
Okay.
See, I'm very I only see what you'd see on the MTV VMAs or something, but...
I am but a student of BTS knowledge, so you can school me.
Maybe... Why do I think they have a song called Popcorn? Hold on, stand by here. At least you have a good jam in the background. Maybe I mean Dynamite. Maybe that's exactly what I mean. Why do what the heck? Maybe I'm confusing my Leona Boyd and my BTS. This is, maybe you're right. Maybe it is Dynamite. Okay. Well, they should have a song called Popcorn. Here, I'm looking here. A lot of...
Popcorn pops like dynamite? I don't know. I'm thinking of the emoji.
No, you're the expert here, Hannah.
And,
I apologize to BTS fans throughout the world that I've messed this up.
You were having us think that there's some secret track and none of us
They
were
sent
on
this
it.
to me. Yeah, I'm thinking you're right. I must be thinking of Dynamite.
That was their big kind of. They already had so many big hit singles, but it was.
But that
kind
crossed
of
over. Like that was a top
yeah.
40 jam, right? That went to number 1, I think. I'm looking at here. Yeah, okay. So you know what I'm thinking of? Butter.
Oh yeah.
That's why, because butter. Oh my goodness, butter.
Yes, they go together. That now we know how your mind works.
Is butter about popcorn?
It's not. But you could sing it every time you eat popcorn.
Okay, that explains it at least. How I got my signals crossed. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture. It's butter, and when I think of butter, I think of popcorn for some reason. Okay, so I went to I went to YouTube, and I said, "What's the most viewed BTS video?" And it's this one. That's a good one I picked?
Yeah, it's awesome. This was one of my gateway videos as well, except that I was really into their dance practice video for this song.
Okay. What's that song called?
A Boy with Love.
And that's got Halsey on it?
It does.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, my introduction to any artist who's come out in the last 10 or 15 years has been through like their features on BTS songs.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The same Brian Dunn who told me to load up the BTS. So this is Weird Al Yankovic. We'll give him a moment and I'll explain why I'm playing Weird Al for Hannah's song.
No lemons, no melon. Too bad I hit a brute. Lisa Bonet ain't no basil. What song was wrong? Was it a car or a cat I saw?
So this song's called Bob, and it's like the palindrome anthem. You, my friend, are a palindrome.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And thank you. I guess we can credit your parents. You tell me, but the spelling of your name is palindrome, but some Hannahs spell it differently, and they ruin that. And I would think if you're going to be named Hannah, don't mess with the palindrome, because that's pretty cool.
How dare those Hannahs mess with it? I love having my name forwards and backwards in every way.
Okay, now we're going to get into your career. I want to find out what you're up to now. Media girlfriends, of course. Couple of notes off the top. One is, like, as we speak, Hannah, the Queen is dying. Have you heard this?
Well, we all knew. Like, I mean, I heard a news update on my way over, and like, yeah.
Like, this might be the day. Like, I mean,
yes.
Media outlets have been preparing for this day
Right.
for like probably since the 80s or something. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, I'm just curious. What does Hannah Sung think of all this? Like, what are your thoughts this in the final day? I mean, this is the only Queen we know. Like, she's on our money.
Yeah, she is. What are my thoughts on the Queen herself, or on the monarchy, or
Yeah,
on
all of
death
the above.
and
Like,
life
how are you feeling about all this?
Well, I guess I was kind of surprised to hear in the news update that she's 96, because she's always just been around at that elderly state, and 96 is very old.
She
and
looked
I hope,
old,
yeah.
like when I started looking at money in like the late 70s, early 80s. She looked kind of elderly.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, her earlier photos, like, she was a very elegant woman. She's still very elegant. I wish her a peaceful,
A peaceful exit.
Yes.
Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Do you think Ridley Funeral Home is going to get this service? They're here in New Toronto, pillars of the community. No, they're probably going to do it in London. Probably not going to bring her to New Toronto. Okay.
Probably.
Yes, come on, Hattie. You're supposed to laugh at my silly jokes here. Come on. Don't leave me hanging there.
I'm laughing. Absolutely.
One more note, because you work with Garvia, and we're going to talk about her later, but she, of course, was on Jazz FM. Mm-hmm. And I saw a tweet from Jazz FM about James B. James B., he won the grand prize in the jazz category at the 2022 John Lennon songwriting competition. Now, wow. I can't pretend I know if that means anything. Like, they could have invented that and just, like, it just sounds impressive. Like, I don't know what the John Lennon songwriting competition is, but he won for his composition Nails. So just a quick yes or no question for you before we move on to your illustrious career. Hannah, do you think James B. is famous?
Well, yeah, because when you say his name, I know exactly who he is.
Thank you. That's all I needed for the record.
What a random question.
Ongoing, FOTMs.
Okay.
No, this is a thread through the years. I think he's famous, but I have this argument. Some people think he's not famous. He's like a tiny niche in Toronto, and I'm of the opinion that James B. is famous.
I think you have to be of a certain age, which I am, and he had a moment at a certain time. So,
which moment is that? Are you referring to the swing resurgence after Swingers came out?
Yeah. Would that be like around the year 2000?
in the year 2000.
Wow. Amazing. I feel like we have all the same cultural references.
I saw Conan O'Brien do, he was at the Winter Garden Elgin Theatre, whatever that's called,
Cool.
on Yonge Street there. And in 2003, he came to Toronto, you might recall. And I got tickets. My brother Steve and I went to see his show live. And actually watching, because I don't come from your industry, like watching Conan O'Brien record his show, it was live to tape essentially. Like everything that you see on TV, which it was appointment viewing. I loved Conan O'Brien's late night talk show. Like it all happened live, including like when they went to commercial break. Then like the length of the commercial, like they were just kind of like off camera talking and chatting, and then they came back. So it was like looked like nothing was going to be done in post. Like it was all going to be live to tape. And that's when I started this silly little thing 10 years ago. And it was exactly 10 years ago. I had seen that and I thought, oh, I can do it that way where it all happens live.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I sat down in your studio and I saw you preparing and you gave me the quick Coles notes of what was going to happen. And I was like, wow, you're doing live radio, basically. It's just the format is a podcast, but
Right.
this is totally live. And also Conan O'Brien, watching a studio taping of his was my first kind of like in-person introduction to a TV environment as well.
Oh my goodness, we have so much in common.
Yeah, in New York. And I think I was like 20 years old and I had never stepped foot into anything TV related before. So it was exciting.
And that sparked your passion that continues to this day to be like,
Sure.
Okay, well, no,
I do love him.
even if that's not true, let's just rewrite this narrative because that's perfect here. Okay,
Go for it.
When did you realize that you wanted to become a journalist? Like, when did you get that bug?
Oh, well, I would say when I was really young, like in grade 7. So I was a total keener kind of student. And our English teacher gave us an assignment to do a newspaper. Like each student made a whole kind of newspaper.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I got more than perfect on my assignment because
That is impossible.
I did like bonus things and stuff. Oh my God. It's so extremely nerdy, but it's because I had been already reading the newspaper for years and it was like my dream assignment at school.
What paper did you read?
The
at that
Toronto
age?
Star, obviously. Yeah, for sure.
Same here. By the way,
yeah.
so another one. I'm just going to keep a checklist over here of
Okay.
like commonalities. But
Yeah.
that was the paper that arrived at my home. I would read every day was the Toronto Star.
Yeah, well, we didn't get delivery. I would walk down the street and put 4 quarters in.
Wow.
And and then I would get the newspaper.
It actually sounds pricey for, although I don't know
I think that
your
was Saturday.
age. Okay,
I think
yeah.
it was like 25 or 50 cents.
Right, because Saturday had the
during
TV,
week.
whatever they called it.
TV
Week?
Guide or Star
No,
Week.
Star Week.
Oh,
Yeah.
needed that.
And it had the comics. Like it had the
Yes.
For Better or For Worse and all that good stuff.
Garfield. Yes,
Yes.
all those things. Dear Ann Landers. I basically learned how to be in the world through Ann Landers.
And then I learned, at an older age, I learned that Abby and Ann Landers were sisters. Did you
Yeah.
know this? That's
I
a
did.
mind blow, right?
Yeah, no, I think they're twins.
And they hated each other.
That's just,
Like the
that's
Gallagher
wild.
brothers in Oasis, something like that.
Do those guys really hate each other?
I think so. I actually think I get the sense, I don't know them personally, I think Noel really resents the way Liam treated him, and I think Liam might be like a borderline sociopath and enjoyed torturing his brother. And I think there's some real like issues that I think that don't mix them up, Mike. I think Liam would forgive and forget and do something. I think Noel's the holdout because I think he's really carrying this like in his heart.
Wow, you follow it like
They're my
like a
BTS,
soap opera.
okay?
Yes,
So,
okay,
I take
gotcha.
this very seriously.
See, that makes sense to me now. When you like just relate everything through BTS and
Oh yeah,
I get
and
it.
they should rename butter. It should be called popcorn. And I'm gonna
Well,
send
we've
an email
established that. Yes.
when I'm finished with you. I'm gonna send an email here. And as I told you, you were impressed, and I want you to be more impressed by me. So you were impressed off the top before I press record because you asked when this would go. Like when does
Yeah.
this go into the public realm and the Toronto Mike feed for all the subscribers? And I told you like literally 10 minutes after we take our photo outside after
That's
the thing.
wild.
And we're gonna we're gonna jump around and then we're gonna get back to like chronological order. But like if you got a wealth of podcasting experience yourself, like what's typical in your podcasting universe for like time between completion of recording and public consumption?
Well, at minimum, a couple of months.
Really?
Yeah.
But these are heavily produced, heavily edited podcasts.
Yeah. And we're kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum with the immediacy, but I love what you're doing because sometimes you'll be sitting on something for so long and overthinking it, you know, like
Right.
I would definitely say that I tend towards that territory. I want to think something through and edit it over and over. And I love the immediacy of like, just have the conversation and get it out there.
You're not even the only Toronto Mike episode today, Hannah.
I know. I saw that. It's like you, Mike, work
you know what?
very hard.
So that little for the FOTM. So are you familiar with the 1236 newsletter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Well, you want to
subscribe.
say more words because he's listening right now live, and just say nice things about
Do you
it.
know that because you see it on your
No, because
thing?
I know this gentleman well. I
okay.
saw him last Thursday at TMLXX. Shout out to Mark Weisblot. But what do you think of the 1236 newsletter?
Oh, I think it's
And don't be nice just because he's listening. Like, be real. We
Hi,
tell the
Mark.
truth.
Nice to meet you. I think it's great. I subscribed quite early on. I love that it's snappy, informative. It's saucy. It's spicy. It's like I'm describing like a sandwich or something. But
And it's no longer. It was under the umbrella of St. Joseph's
Yeah.
Media, and that stopped last week. So literally, like today, when Mark Weisblot, he's doing a very rare evening recording. Normally, we record for 3 hours on the first Thursday of every month. This is like clockwork. But this time, the first Thursday coincided with TMLXX. And you're like sitting there like, Mike, what's an FOTM? What's TMLXX? Hannah, you're going to have to figure it out, okay? Okay, I'm not going to just give you a glossary of terms, okay? But TMLXX happened last Thursday, as all good FOTMs know, and therefore we couldn't do the Mark Weisblot 3-hour deep dive because I had to get to Great Lakes Brewery. Thank you, Great Lakes Brewery, for hosting. Hannah, you're taking home with you some fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery.
all right. Thank
True
you.
story and more, but I'll save it. Okay.
Nice.
So he's coming over tonight, and that'll drop as well 10 minutes after he leaves. And it's also super time sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like when you're holding on to these episodes for 2 months, you're not talking about, oh, the queen is dying.
No.
Because that queen has died 2 months ago, as far as you're concerned.
Yes, sadly, I suppose I won't be doing a podcast about that. I kind of can't imagine like the pressure of doing a daily news podcast or doing what you do, Mike. You know, like I like to think about topics that are maybe a little more evergreen than daily news. I mean, if I had to be in daily news, I think my head would explode. And I like thinking about things that are kind of more cultural and social issues that don't change every day, like according to the headlines, deeper conversations. So it just kind of takes a level of thoughtfulness that unfortunately takes a lot of time, fortunately or unfortunately, you know. But I like that. I like to get really deep into a topic.
Well, different strokes for different folks. And I think there's absolutely like an appetite for what you're doing. And I'm finding out there's an appetite for what I'm doing. And I love the fact that we're like all in the same gang.
Yeah.
And it's kind of beautiful, right? Like this universe we're in right now. And we'll get into this. Everybody will dive into more media girlfriends and your podcast and everything. And we'll talk about what you were doing at Globe and Mail and everything. We're going to get to it. But like that, this universe we're now in and this pond we're swimming in, Hannah, together, it like didn't exist when we were in university or whatever. Like this is like a brave new frontier that we're like technology had to kind of like you were making that newspaper in grade 7. Like you at the time, I mean, you know, shout out to Dave Bedini, who's on the show next week, actually. But like, not everybody can just start up a newspaper, like, but you can start up a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think our age category, I think maybe, Mike, you and I are similarly aged. I'm 45. And
I'm older than you.
Are you?
Yeah.
But like, we're not like so different, right?
No. A few years.
I think it's such a weird, cool generation to be in because my parents had an extremely different life from me, and I had an extremely different life from what my children are going to live through. And I mean, it's just wild. The pace of change is totally bananas.
Now I want to sing the Scorpions' Winds of Change. Did you ever hear the, I won't call it a conspiracy theory, but there is a theory out there, or I don't know if it's ever been proven, I doubt it has, but like that was part of like the CIA like propaganda machine to try when the USSR was breaking up in the late 80s, that they used Scorpions' Winds of Change to get to the Russian people. Have you ever heard that?
I mean, I have heard that. It's ringing a bell, but I really could not say back to you what you just said to me. Like, I don't
Well,
know
shout out.
the ins and outs
I
of
think
that.
it. Why do I think? I think that's a German band. I'm now going on the record. Scorpions are a German band, but shout out to the Scorpions if they're listening at home here. Okay, so what's next for you? You're in grade 7. You've made your newspaper. You've got the bug now. It's like an itch. You got to scratch that itch. So where do you go from there?
I don't know. I go to Woburn High School in Scarborough, and then I go to U of T, and I went to Trinity College because my Korean parents very much wanted me to go to a very specific school, so I did. And so I didn't go to journalism school.
Right.
And I did do a zillion activities in high school and in university too, and some of that was like newspaper related.
So what did you take at U of T?
Well, I
Like,
got
is this
a
a general
degree.
arts degree?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so you and I, again, this is on my checklist. We both
okay.
have general arts degrees
I
from U
hope
of
you're
T.
writing this down.
I am.
Yes, good.
See?
Yeah, English, women's studies, history. That's what is officially on my diploma, on my degree. So yeah, and then but I was like super raring to get out and to work. So in my 4th year, my classes were all lined up in a certain way that one of the semesters I just had a lot of time, and I started interning at iWeekly. Do you remember iWeekly?
Well, okay, you know who was at iWeekly at the time you were at iWeekly? Did you just ask me if I remember iWeekly?
Yeah.
Do you have no idea where you are, do you, Hannah?
No.
Didn't do any, not even a cursory, like, let me listen to a little Toronto mic here. I am so hurt. Okay.
I listened.
Do I remember iWeekly? Mark Weisblot was at iWeekly when you were writing your rave party reports.
Oh my God, lol.
I've done my homework. Okay, let's talk
I
about this
appreciate
now.
you doing your homework.
Okay, so what are these rave party reports and pictures or whatever? Tell me what this was all about.
Okay, so iWeekly was a Toronto alternative weekly, which I loved. They had great editorial and creative direction, and
Sure.
they had a party pages pick, and I was like exploring the world of nightlife, and I was like, I can do that. So I don't even know how it started, but I was an intern for them, like a regular intern who didn't just go to nightclubs, but I said, can I do that? And they said, sure, we'll pay you $75 to go to a club every Friday or Saturday night. You go with a photographer, you talk to the people there, you get a sense of the vibe of the party, you can interview the DJs, you can interview the party promoters. And I was like, this is amazing. And so I did that for maybe I don't know if I reached 2 years, but I did it for long enough that I remember Mary Dickey, like, she said to me, I don't know how you're doing this. And it's like, I love this.
Yeah.
But I think everybody in the music department there and in the editorial department was like, ew, you have to go to these parties. I was like, you don't understand. This is what I'd be doing anyway. I love it.
So iWeekly was sort of like a tour star response to Now Magazine, essentially. And Now Magazine just died. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Like, while we're talking about our alt weeklies, like, any thoughts from you, Hannah, on the sad end of like an institution in this city? As far as I'm concerned, I'm only being a couple years older than you, but I had Michael Hollett on the show and we kind of talked about this a bit the other day. And then Richard Trapunski, just want to shout him out because he's one of those people who, they stopped paying, but we're still, working. This is kind of the sad reality of what happened in 2022 at Now Magazine. But what are your thoughts on the late Now Magazine?
Oh, R.I.P. I think it's so sad for all kinds of media and consolidation of media and views and the lack of like a really viable kind of business structure. Like, I get sad when I think about the big newspapers of the world just being funded by rich people. That's like how media works, And yes, there are fewer barriers technologically, like we make podcasts, etc. But that's not all it is. Like, just having these doodads and the technological ability to like get your message out there, like media, news media, cultural criticism is so much more than that, So anyway, it's sad. It's also sad that people had to continue working without being paid, and I think that's a sign of like the faith that individuals had.
Well,
that
if
they
you
would
love
be
what
paid
you
for their
do,
work.
it becomes like a labor of love. I think,
but
at
it
some
shouldn't.
point. I know, of course,
labor
Right.
should be compensated.
Yeah, I follow a lot of these cats, like Glenn and a lot of these guys on Twitter, and it sounds like there's like ongoing attempts to get compensated for, like, we're talking a significant chunk of time that they worked on the paper without any money, dropping
That's
into
awful.
their bank account.
And I did not follow that because I was on a total Twitter fast this summer. I don't know exactly when it happened, but
That's interesting. I'll have to bring you up to speed on everything you missed.
I mean, mostly don't, please, but I mean, was there some sort of stringing along of a promise of compensation? That would suck. And we should not be working for the glamour of the industry or for the noble cause. Like, we need to be compensated for our work, period.
Agreed. And then it's sort of watching it all kind of like, it was like watching a car wreck in slow motion. Cause we, again, back to Wiseblood, but we talk for 3 hours a month, and we've been talking through the years about when I got sold, and then when the whole cannabis thing, and then he had trouble finding actual paper copies of, like, Wiseblood couldn't find the printed copy anywhere. Like, they said they were still printing it, but it really seemed to be more of a digital effort because they couldn't find the papers. Where the heck are the papers? Anyway, we kind of watch it unravel and stuff. And then one by one, you'll see, like, okay, Norm Wilner just announced he's working for TIFF. And then, one by one, you'll see the pieces fall, and then now it's all collapsed. But very sad, very sad. Mm-hmm. So you're at iWeekly.
Oh, yeah, I was. Okay, so back to the timeline. I was interning while I was still a student. Let me see. I was just hustling, right? I was writing a column for the Toronto Star. I was on this radio show that I know Farah Nasser mentioned to you as like the beginnings of her career as well.
Is that 1010?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a bit about that. Farah, by the way, is going... is going to be back here next week. So
cool.
That'll be cool to reconnect and find out what's up.
Please give her a high five from me. I love Farah. Yeah, so back when Farah and I were little babies, basically, we were on a panel on a show called Generation Next, which I always felt like sounded like a Pepsi, like a new version of Pepsi or something.
Right.
On CFRB Talk 1010.
Yeah.
And that was, I guess, my first foray into, live radio for sure. But, one of my first kind of experiences of working in a real media place, like iWeekly and CFRB were both happening at the same time. I was writing for the Star, but it was like email. So I wasn't in the environment of a newsroom, but I was there at CFRB. It wasn't, for me, it was a little bit like anticlimactic because I would be going in Saturday nights. And so nobody was there. It wasn't like a bustling newsroom at all.
And can I ask, is this 299 Queen? Where are you going here?
No.
Where are you here? Oh, yeah, we're way before that.
St. Clair and Young.
Right. Like 2 St. Clair or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've actually, I once, a humble Howard Glassman was appearing on Jim Richards' show on 1010.
Love Jim Richards.
Do we know what's up with Jim?
Oh,
I'm looking in the eyes, Hannah. You've had some correspondence with Jim?
I haven't talked to him in a while, but I love him.
Because he's been radio silent on he's not on 1010, but he's never there's never been that tweet or that announcement or that okay, he's moving on or we wish him well in his future endeavors. Like, they just sort of stopped mentioning him on the air, and he just stopped appearing on the air. And he's decided, and I like Jim quite a bit. I've met him. I'm a fan of Jim Richards, but he's just decided he's not going to tell us what's going on. So I don't know what's going on. I just wondered if you had any insight.
Which is his prerogative.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to twist his arm over it. But.
Yeah, no, I will drop him a line.
Find out what's going on with Jim Richards. Okay, that's your homework, and report back to us, please.
Okay. Well, I'm a Keener student, so.
Well, come back here at 7 p.m. and you can jump in on the Wiseblood episode and give us the Jim Richards update. Okay, I'll see you then.
Okay, I can't promise, actually, no.
Okay, I was kidding. All right, so that's kind of cool that you get to be at in the newsroom and at that time they had a newsroom. This was
but it was empty. It was Saturday night, right. And I would just go in and we would do our show. It was a call-in radio show, and we'd be talking about issues that were important to young people. And then I would, I don't know, jump on the subway, I guess, and go downtown and hit a club and write it up for iWeekly. And I guess I was doing this while I was at school, but then also after I graduated in the year 2000.
In the year 2000.
Well, I don't know why I keep even mentioning that year, but I love that it gets that response.
It doesn't come up much on this show, and it triggers that in me.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And do you remember callback? Do you remember hearing that? Let's say, I don't know, 92 or something. You're hearing that and thinking how far off it felt. I don't know. It felt like the far off future. What do you mean the year 2000?
Absolutely. I was always calculating what age I would be in the year 2000, and I thought, I'm going to be 23. I'm going to be married with a house and a career. I'm going to be a lady reporter at whatever newspaper. I'm gonna be doing all this
Right.
stuff, and it's like, wow, I was so not like when you're 23, you can't get shit together. Like, and so it was hilarious when that year came and passed, and then every milestone birthday, you're like, wait, do I have it together now? Or,
Do you
wait,
have it together now? Because from where I'm again, I only see what's in the public realm, but it seems like you have it together. I don't know. You seem to be doing cool shit.
Thank you. I think that it's always it's like a thing bobbing in the water. Like you're always trying to get there, and it's a moving target. So
But where's
like,
there?
sure,
Like you are.
it's a balancing act.
Yeah, you're scratching that itch, right?
Yeah, I'm trying. Like the way that I kind of figure if you've got it together is if you like how your day went, and you like how yesterday went, and you're looking forward to tomorrow. Like literally, do you like how your days are going? If you do, and you like the shape of your life, you've gotten it together. So I think right now, basically, I do in the broadest sense of the term, I guess.
So let me ask you, what does your necklace mean?
Oh, well.
Like it says best.
Oh, well, then maybe you can't see that it says best mom.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I mean, the O is a pearl because I told my son.
I thought it was
that
Eminem. I thought you were just a big fan of Marshall Mathers, to be honest with you.
I mean, like.
So
yeah.
you're a mom.
Yeah, I'm a mom.
I know. That's so how old is you have one, or how many
I
children do you
have
have?
two.
How old are these children?
11 and 8.
I have an 8-year-old. I'm going to put that in the checklist.
Yeah, do it.
I do. That's amazing. Okay. And that's amazing. Like it's
It's a cool age.
Yeah. Well,
I'm enjoying.
all the ages are pretty damn cool, but
Yes.
absolutely, because at that point they're kind of independent, and
For sure.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're the best mom, and that's definitive. I'm looking at it's on a necklace.
Absolutely number one, the best, don't you know?
Once it's on a necklace, I feel like that's better than like I know we're gonna get to all this. We're just getting to know you, but like you've won. I want to get this right. Hold on here. You've won like awards.
New car?
You won.
Okay, yeah.
Right? You won. What did you win? And you're an award-winning journalist. Shout out the award you won.
Okay. Well, I guess the awards I'm proudest of would be, can I even name them? With Media Girlfriends, we made a podcast called Strong and Free. And
Strong
it's
and
about
Free.
Black Canadian history. And we won the Digital Media Award Gold. We won the Canadian Online Publishing Award Gold. We
Amazing.
won another gold. Yeah. So I'm very proud of these awards, but I kind of am happy to get them, and then I don't really think about them.
But then
so
they go
I
in
can't
the
even
bio,
name them.
like because now it's not just Hannah Sung is a co-founder of Media Girlfriends podcast company. It's Hannah Sung is an award-winning journalist and co-founder. Like you can add it there. It's like I think that's cool.
I mean, that's what the website is for. So, but I don't go around in life saying, "Do you know that I am?" Like I can't even.
You should. You should get
I
a
don't
necklace
even know
for
what
that.
they're called. Yeah, I should.
Because you're not just the best mom. You're also an award-winning journalist.
Okay, tell my son that, please.
I will. Okay, so what's after? You're doing something. And what are you doing for the Toronto Star? Like, what are you writing?
I was writing a column about a young person's life, basically. And that was really fun because, again, as we've established, the Toronto Star was what we grew up reading. Yeah. But, my first real job in media was at MuchMusic. And I landed that job in 2002. And so I was their pop culture reporter. And I hosted a couple of shows, including Much News and the New Music, for a couple of years. Yes.
Where's this coming from?
Oh my God.
Can you name the artist?
Thank you for queuing it up. Oh my God, now you're putting me on the spot. I used to be able to. Yes. I can't name the artist. You're gonna shame me, and I'm gonna.
It's not exactly like, oh yeah, this is. Don't you know this?
No,
is the
I know,
Beatles.
but if you didn't say it now, I would walk out your front door,
and you'd know it,
and I would instantly. This happened
like
to me
that too.
yesterday on a call. Yeah.
That's there's got to be a word. Maybe there's a German word for that phenomenon. Because as you know, I do these live. I don't edit. So, yeah, like sometimes there's a name. I can picture the face, and I can tell you their entire like IMDb page, resume, or whatever. But I can't pull the name out.
No.
And I wonder, is this how it begins? Like early onset of dementia or something?
Probably.
But then, like the minute I stop recording, I know the name. Like, of course I know that name.
Yeah. It's the pressure we put on our own brains, our Dumb
Because
little
you know you're
brains.
live somewhere. Like, you know this is not something you're doing in your like basement and you can edit it later. This is
The way I like to do it.
So what is your studio like?
Oh,
And then we'll get
well-
back to Much Music because I have Much Music questions.
Oh yeah. So I don't have like a studio per se. It's kind of amazing. So I have a mic set up as well at my desk with a Focusrite Scarlett like a audio interface, and the mic is so unidirectional that I don't need anything.
That was the idea here. You're right.
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So it works out. I just record at home in my home office. Yeah.
And what neck of the woods is home office? Like what neighborhood?
I live in downtown Toronto, like west side.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so this is Pig Bag.
Oh my God, yes. Wow. See, I never would have been able to.
Yeah, well, you know what?
get
You
that
don't think,
out.
except for this jam, which I only know from the new music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're, like, maybe in England and they talk more about Pig Bag or something because it's like a British instrumental band or
maybe.
whatever. But, like, we're
Maybe
not
they
really talking about Pig Bag a lot
No.
in
No.
Toronto here. So,
No.
But this jam is like time. So this show, by the way, you were the second last host of the new music.
Was I?
Do you want to name check who do you think was the host of the new music before you?
Oh,
That's not a hard one, is it?
well, I mean, George and I
It's
hosted
George.
together. Yeah.
Okay, so when do you arrive? When do you start hosting the new music?
I
Maybe
guess when I started working there, which was 2002. Oh my God, it sounds like so long ago when I say this. This is wild.
Okay,
Lifetime ago.
you might be right, but I think you started in 2004.
I think you're probably right because you are looking at some real information.
So Strombo, you okay? Can you name the original hosts of the new music?
Well, Jeannie Becker
Correct.
and John.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
He used to host
him.
Toronto Rocks.
Yeah, we called him JD.
Roberts.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes.
And that was way back in 1979. So here's a fun fact here, and then I'm gonna give you a few gifts, and then we're gonna talk a bit more about the Much Music. So Much Music's where I gotta admit that's where I discover Hannah's song. Like that's sort of my introduction to you is the new music and Much Music. So
I wasn't doing anything before, so that
well, I could have
makes
been listening.
sense.
I could have been listening to you and
You could have been.
Farnasser
Yeah.
on 1010. I could have been checking out the iWeekly. I probably did. I just didn't read the byline, checking out these pictures or whatever. What's going on in the? I wasn't cool enough to be part of that scene. I probably was checking that out. But Much Music was still a big deal in the early 2000s. There.
Mhm, yeah.
So here's the mind blow. Not a big mind blow, but this, of course, Pig Bag. That was the theme I knew from, although not the original theme of the new music, because they had that Rush 2112. Speaking of palindromes. Okay, have you ever heard this? You cool chick in the club. This was a #1 dance hit for Thunderpuss. And I haven't heard of them either, but Thunderpuss covered the Papa's Got a Brand New Pig Bag.
What year was this?
Oh, shit, I don't know. But it was fairly recent. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was 20 years ago, actually. I have no idea.
This
But
song
yeah,
is a bit aggro for me. It like makes me scared.
I will bring it down then. What was it like at Much Music? Like, what was the experience like? And please remind us of the era, because there's like the Moses era, and then Moses is kind of pushed out, and then at some point, you know, Chum City or whatever sells it to Rogers. Bell. Can you please remind us who the heck's owning Much Music at this time?
Okay, so it was still called Chum City when I was there. Moses was no longer part of Much Music. The person who hired me, her name is Sheila Sullivan, and Neil State and David Kynes was running the shop.
David Kynes is an
And-
FOTM as well, by the way.
Oh, nice. Love David. Shout out to David Kynes. What was the era like? It was Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, I guess, like Backstreet Boys, I guess.
Yeah.
That wasn't really my thing then. It was also the era of like indie rock, whatever that means, having a huge surge, and Canadian indie rock specifically too, but British indie rock too. And
But what was your thing back then? So we're talking
My
like
thing?
04 to 06, you're hosting the new music. Like, because now it sounds like that, you're kind of like, oh, that wasn't my thing back then. Backstreet
Yeah.
Boys and NSYNC and all that jazz. But meanwhile, you're listening to BTS every night, Hannah. So
Yeah, I know. It's like,
what's happened to you? You used to be cool.
no, I think it's so cool to just love what you love and whatever you connect with. And I'm trying to teach that to my older child right now because he's getting a lot of music recommends from his friends. And I'm like, whatever, like whatever you want. And, actually the story is that some of the songs were too mature for him and he didn't want to show it to me, and I was like,
Right.
You got to show me your Spotify, and well, let me just click on these lyrics, and he kind of was like, no. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, well then you already know if you can't share it with me that it's like not appropriate. But I'm never going to be that person who says you can't go to your friends and like you have to say my mommy won't let me listen. Like, that's not what we're doing here. But you need to fall in love with something yourself and go back to your friends and be like, this is super cool, So I mean, what was I into back then? I just was having like this young adult reaction to a lot of pop music. So I wasn't into a lot of what I felt like was manufactured pop. But
And that's like Christina Aguilera.
I mean, yeah, I
Britney
don't want to be like.
Spears.
Sometimes people at work would say, "Hannah, you're such a snob," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I am a snob." I would just like own the fact that I was, and I don't feel that way anymore. Like I do feel like I should have just been having more fun, but there was just something about stuff that felt. I was a little bit too against the grain to like just unironically like that stuff, but there's so much music that counts as pop music, and I loved everything Missy Elliott was doing and Timbaland and what else was I into? I mean, I was into a lot of I was into MIA, I was into La Tigra, I was into I guess like the British bands that were coming over, but interviewing them was really annoying.
Any particular like band that was annoying, like that you
want me to call out like the bands that I hated
they're okay
interviewing?
with it. I mean, I made Erica M do the same thing.
Really?
So yeah.
Well, okay, so first I'll just start with a type. I was given a type of interview to do all the time, which was the next big thing, like the hot new band, the cool new indie rock band. That was always what was assigned to me.
Right.
And it actually did overlap with a lot of my interests, so I get it. But there's a type of band which is like 4 young white dudes who've been told that they are the shit. And
are you referring to like Arctic Monkeys and that kind of thing?
I don't even know if I interviewed them. I think I probably did. But generally there's a type of interview that I was always doing where it was like I felt like I was babysitting a box of puppies and the egos were out of control and like nothing would be a real conversation. And again, sometimes I look back and go like, why couldn't you just relax and have some fun with it? But often you'd be a part of like their own ego stroking, and I don't want to participate in that way. So sometimes these interviews were super annoying. And then sometimes I look back and what were the issues going on? I'm okay. So I'm going to mention a band because you asked me to.
I'm ready.
The Vines.
Yeah. So
it wasn't the worst interview in terms of it was malicious or anything, because there were plenty of interviews that I did that were like extremely uncomfortable. It's just like the lead singer was the person that I was matched up to interview at the venue before the show was happening. It was empty, and he was just running around the venue, like literally running, jumping up on.
Well, he's probably on
stage and
speed, right?
Right.
This is amphetamines.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm just kind of standing there not knowing what to do. And basically nobody there knows what to do or is like, there's no grown up driving the bus.
Right.
So situations like that, it's kind of like, oh.
What goes up
really
must come
happening?
down. So it's like, but then when they crash down, you don't want to be anywhere near that mess.
Yeah, and you get your 20 minutes and then you're
Right.
done. And then I go back to the station and go, well, I didn't get anything, and I never liked not doing a good job. Again, why couldn't I just let go of that? But
So did you ever feel like maybe, covering these, like you said, the next big thing, these 4 white dudes from England, they've been told they're the next big thing or whatever, they're the next Oasis or whatever they are. Like maybe there's more substantial journalism out there that somebody like yourself could be sinking her teeth into.
Like now, you mean? Looking back?
Like I just, I can, first of all, I'm not, no judgment here. I think it's cool you did it all, but covering those artists whereby there's substantial issues that needed to be covered and need to be covered now that you can sink your teeth into for, those podcasts that you're spending a couple of months polishing and refining and everything. Like at the time, I'm just wondering, like, were those itches being scratched by your MuchMusic experience? You didn't know this was like a couch and that you'd be in psychotherapy.
Lol, I love it though.
Let's talk about this.
I do remember writing for the website for MuchMusic.com, and occasionally when I had the time to do this, I'd write little essays on my thoughts. And so I really enjoyed having the opportunity to do that. Like this is like me in my natural habitat, like kind of synthesizing what's happening in my own world, and then like looking at the culture and just laying out my observations. So I did have an opportunity to do that a bit. Now that was something that was on the website when I had time to do it.
Well, that was the heyday of blogging. Like that's the heyday of blogging is like 2004.
Yeah. Was anybody looking? I don't know. I mean,
no, I was.
Okay. Cool, thank you.
Like I still subscribe to blogs, and I often wish people would. I loved the format, and I don't know why we all stopped doing it. Social media took the blogging like soul, so now people send the tweet or do the Instagram, and then it all.
Well, I write a newsletter because I could not deal with just writing in tiny little tweets.
You needed more characters to. Yeah. So okay, is it Substack? What is your newsletter? Tell us about the newsletter quickly.
It's called At the End of the Day.
At the end of, and that's the name of your podcast, right?
It is. So you go endoftheday.ca. That's where you go.
Okay, so once you subscribe to the 1236 newsletter, make sure you're also subscribed to At the End of the Day, a weekly newsletter with a people first perspective on the news.
Yes.
How's that? You can use that because I stole it from you.
Okay. Thanks for letting me use that.
You can use that. How did you get the gig at MuchMusic?
There was speaking of newspapers, there was an ad in the back of the newspaper saying pop culture reporter wanted.
Which newspaper?
Well, this was, I think, either Now or I, again, sure. RIP.
Right.
And my friend cut it out for me and circled it like in an old-timey movie.
Hannah, this is you. This is you.
Yeah. But like before that, I had already sent in tapes because I wanted to audition to be a VJ. And I'd sent in 1 or 2, maybe 1 that I remember. And I got a form letter back saying thank you, but no thanks. And I was like, cool. They got my demo tape, you know? I was just kind of like of that mind back then where I wasn't really hearing no. I was hearing like, oh, you heard me and you saw me and now I can try again.
Did you get along with the sock?
Sure. I would see him around and we never did anything together. That's the funny thing about the on-air folks at Much is that the on-air folks didn't get to work together very much unless you were paired up for a show.
Right.
But otherwise, like my very good friends, Jennifer Hollett and Nam Kiwanuka, like we developed our friendship after we left because when we were working there, you're with your producers, you're with your camera person, like you're not hanging out with another on-air host. There's like no time, So
Nam's an FOTM, by the way.
That's awesome.
I don't know how Hollett's escaped me because she was at Twitter, and of course Cam Gordon there is on Toast, which is every month on Toronto Mike. And he did Pandemic Fridays here for 76 weeks in a row.
Oh my God!
In fact, he got me. I'm going to be at this TIFF. Viola Davis has a new.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there tomorrow.
Are
you going to be there?
No,
I need to know somebody.
To go.
I think Nam will be there actually.
That's so great. What am I doing? Oh, I'm doing a podcast conference at that time.
Where is no one ever? No one. This is the difference between you and I. Nobody's invited me to any podcast conferences.
By the way, I invited myself to that one because it's this company called Multitude in Brooklyn, and I love what they do and their ethos. So when they sent out an email blast saying they were doing this, I wrote back and I was like, hey, I love what you're doing. And then they were like, would you like to be on a panel? I was like, yes. So it's not necessarily that I get invited. It's that I
You
reach out to
invited
people.
yourself.
I
Okay.
did.
See, my ego is such that I'm like, I don't want to be a member of any. No, that's not true. That's Groucho Marx there, and it's the opposite. But like, oh, you didn't invite me, so I guess you don't want me. You don't get me. But I was invited to this TIFF thing tomorrow. How is Strombo? Strombo is an FOTM as well, and we had
Great.
this like super great chat. Like I had a great experience of George Strombolopoulos. What was your experience like with George?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, we worked together for years, and I can't even remember who left MuchMusic first, him or me. Like
Well, he went to the CBC, right? He left Much for
yeah.
for the rest of his history at
Yeah.
the CBC.
Yeah, and I mean, our paths cross occasionally, but very rarely. He's a nice person to work with. He's got a real gift, as you know. I don't need to say that because everyone can clearly see it. Yeah, he's got
Well, he
a
works
real
for
gift
Apple
for
now.
connection. Yeah. He does.
And he's probably hanging with the aforementioned Jim Richards as we speak. They seem to be thick as thieves.
That's how
those
I know
two.
Jim. Yeah.
And then you know Mako Jr. too, if you get in that.
Yeah.
that little bit, who's also an FOTM.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, now any other I know we're gonna move on from MuchMusic, but that's where I first discovered Hannah Sung. So obviously I'm lingering a little bit here. But the new music was an institution. There was only I think there was only one host after you. I have to check out who it was, but eventually it run its course, I guess, and they kind of killed it. But I, which is kind of too bad. I really enjoyed the new music, and the new music, of course, John Martin creation that sort of led to MuchMusic. It was sort of like before MuchMusic, that was like a sort of a bit of the prototype of what they wanted to do with Much.
Yeah.
But okay, so we talked about there's a Sock. Shout out to Steve Kersner. He's an FOTM. There's George. There's Nam. Jennifer, you mentioned, who will one day get in the hot seat here. But is there any other VJs you can recall from your time there that you can just name check before we move on?
Well, yeah, Amanda Walsh and I still keep in touch. We had a random late dinner together this summer. It was so nice to see her. Rainbow Sun Franks was there at the same time.
Wow.
Lovely person. Bradford. We don't really keep in touch, but I wish him the best. I hope he's doing well.
Bradford Howe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt Babel and I crossed paths a little bit. He was kind of part of this newer crew that came in towards the end of my time there. Who else? I mean, Devin Sultan Duke was there. Same deal. He was kind of like towards the later time of when I was there. Yeah.
Well, much like Now Magazine, except now I think, the signal exists. It's just like, I don't know if it's Simpsons or Seinfeld, but it's like Friends reruns. Like, it's just, there's no, like, the MuchMusic, for all intents and purposes, is merely like a signal that's like re-rolling syndicated content over and over again. There is no MuchMusic as we knew it.
I mean, but what about the TikTok?
What about, tell me, because I haven't
Well, I don't know
ever
either.
logged into TikTok.
Oh, you've never? Yeah.
No. I don't feel like, I mean, I'm older than you, but not much older than you, but I don't feel like I belong on TikTok. Is that my own issues? I need a couch to sit on and lie on?
Well, I do love TikTok content. Like, the creators on TikTok are amazing, but I try hard to not go there because
It's so good I avoid it.
Well, you know what? You can't avoid it because it's in my group chats. It's in my other, like, it's in my Instagram. It's you see them on Twitter. Like, things go viral and spin out into your own feeds.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of just don't need this new time suck for me and a new algorithm to, like, the AI is so powerful, and I know that there's no avoiding this stuff, but like, I just don't need to introduce it right now to myself.
No, I mean, I've never logged in. Like, I just, my 18-year-old kind of gave me a heads up. Like, maybe 40-something dudes don't belong on TikTok.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
Well, so you have an 18-year-old?
Yeah.
And
a 20-year-old.
Oh, wow. Like, so I look forward to that stage because I feel like it'd be super fun. And I don't know, I kind of feel like I want to do TikTok with my kids. And not making TikToks, like, no, never. That's like not
Like
who I
consuming?
am. Consuming it, because I do feel like, so my older son is about to get his first phone. He's not allowed to do social media, not allowed.
Right.
We'll see what happens. But I want, like, this is way earlier than I wanted my kids to be in that world. But I know that it's my responsibility to live in that world with them, to understand what they're going through, and to, like, help them understand what all this content is. So I feel like I'm just kind of like holding off for when I inevitably do get into all that stuff with my kids.
Well, yeah, it's inevitable, like you said. So 11 years old is, yeah, okay. Now, times have changed, but I do know my firstborn got a phone and he was 13. And I distinctly remember me and my ex-wife having a conversation where I felt it was too early.
Yeah.
And then apparently all of the kids in his class had a phone. And so this is, anyway, he got a phone at 13. And then my daughter managed to get one like a little early, like a 12 and a half. Like she's like, I'm almost there, whatever. And she was a great student anyways. And she got a phone then. And now that I've got the 8-year-old and the 6-year-old, I'm like, oh, wow. Like it's the finish line is moving. Like, are these kids gonna be like 10-year-olds with like,
oh my God,
with an Android in their pocket or whatever?
I know. Well, you know what? Hold off for as long as you can. Like for me, it was just trying to respect my child. Like he was really asking for one, and he said his friends have one, which is true that some of his friends do. And I felt like just trying to close that door and lock it was like socially punishing him for no reason.
Right.
And so my husband and I like had a lot of conversations. He was really against it. And honestly, I am the kind of person who would be against it too. But it was just in this individual circumstance, like I had to just respond to who my son is. If my daughter, when she gets to that age, does not want a phone, I will be like, awesome, that's great. Hallelujah. But I think in every kid has their own thing. Some kids are not into it, actually.
Right. And this is why you, Hannah, earned that necklace you're wearing, okay? Because you're the best mom. You're the best mom.
Mike.
Quick question about Amanda Walsh, real quick here, okay? Because I've been told for many years that they filmed the pilot. Maybe you know where I'm going with this, but for Big Bang Theory. Shout out to the Bare Naked Ladies, by the way. But okay, and that the original Oh, do I have the right show? Yes, I do. I think I do. I never watched Big Bang Theory. Did you watch Big Bang Theory?
I did not.
Very popular show.
But
I
know
missed
what
it
you mean.
completely.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel the original Penny, I hope that's her name. I hope I haven't butchered that, was Amanda Walsh. And then they reshot the pilot with a different actress, and that's the show that became like the most watched sitcom on TV. Have you ever heard this?
Well, I'm wondering where you heard this.
You've never heard this then? No. Okay. Here. Amanda Walsh, Big Bang Theory. Hold on here. Her name is actually, maybe it's Katie? Anyway, why do I think it's Penny? Is Penny somebody else?
Is it in
show?
some sort of IMDb thing where it's like the pilot was made?
I've heard
or
it many
something?
times.
Yeah.
I've heard this many, many times. Oh, it is Penny. Okay. So Katie, before Penny, they called her Katie maybe. I don't know much about Big Bang Theory. But yeah, there's an unaired pilot of the Big Bang Theory. And I believe Amanda Walsh here, I'm just going in here. Yeah, Amanda Walsh played this character. It's one of those, I'm looking at it now. There's a photo of her. She was known as Katie, and she was like the same character. Yeah, I'm on like a Big Bang Theory wiki, so you can trust this, Hannah. But I've heard it from multiple sources through the years. And it's one of those, it was 06, 07, okay, so he was played by Amanda Walsh, a street-hardened, tough-as-nails woman with a vulnerable interior. But they decided to refilm it with a different actress, and the rest is history. But this is one of those sliding doors. It'll drive you crazy if you even think on it. But like how close you are to basically whatever they were making, $1 million an episode. Not that money is all that matters, Hannah. Money is not the primary motivator, but that would change things significantly, I would think, for Amanda. Just an interesting side
I'm happy
note.
to report that Amanda's living a great life, very happy, 2 great kids and a great partner, and is still in LA. And, yeah, I mean,
Well, next
everybody
time
was
you're
so
chatting
excited
with
that-
her, you can ask her about this. Like when you're
Well,
having a
you
drink
should
or
ask her
something.
about it because it's her story.
Okay, well, yes, it's out there. It's all, look, once you make the Big Bang Theory wiki, it's everyone's story now, Hannah. It belongs to the masses now. I'm going to give you a gift. You've been doing amazing, and I want to talk about the Globe and Mail, and I want to talk about a New York Times article I recently read from you, and I want to talk a little more about At the End of the Day and our mutual friend Garvia Bailey. But do you enjoy Italian food?
I love it.
Okay. Good. I was sweating for a moment. What's she going to say here? I hate Italian food. Nobody
hates it. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Your 2 kids and your husband are going to love you when you come home. You're going to get another necklace because you're going to come home with a lasagna. It's frozen. It's in my freezer right now. I'm going to put it in this box before you leave. You're going to have a lasagna from Palma Pasta.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Palma, for feeding over 100 of us on at TMLXX last Thursday. That was so amazing. They fed us all just for free.
You gotta love a business that supports the good work that you do, you know?
And they're hosting TMLX 11. And Hannah, you're invited to this. This is
you.
on the first Saturday of December, which is like December 3rd at noon at Palma's Kitchen. We're going to collect, and it's going to be awesome. Thank you, Palma Pasta. I already mentioned Great Lakes has beer for you. StickerU.com has a Toronto Mic'd sticker for you, Hannah.
Nice.
Well, can't wait to find out where that goes. You'll have to, wherever it ends up, I hope you take a photo and send it to me.
Yes, will do.
Can't wait to find out. Ridley Funeral Home, just yesterday, Brad Jones was at TMLXX, and just yesterday he recorded an episode of his podcast, Life's Undertaking. And he talked about community and the value of community and the community of FOTMs he witnessed last Thursday. Okay, good. It's working. Okay. This is like I don't know, you're in the dark. You want to be safe so you don't end up at Ridley Funeral Home. This is a flashlight for you, Hannah.
Thank you. Now I can read in the dark and not disturb my partner.
And this is a loaded
Appreciate it.
question, which you can.
Yeah.
We don't have plead the fifth in this country, but in this room we do. Okay, I know your 11-year-old might at some point hear this, but do you consume cannabis?
Oh, like not on the regular, which
Not on the
I
reg.
kind of wish I did. But
It's not
like
too
I
late
have,
for you.
yeah, I have, of course.
Canna Cabana has over 100 locations across the country and will not be undersold on cannabis or cannabis accessories. They've been amazing supporters. They had a big gift basket for actually my local candidate for my local for Toronto Council, because that election's coming up in October. Amber Morley is the best bet to replace the incumbent Mark Grimes in this Ward 3 that you're in right now. And she was at TMLXX, and she won the Canna Cabana gift prize, and she was very excited. So shout out to Amber Morley. Thank you, Canna Cabana, and thank you, EPRA, the newest sponsors of Toronto Mic'd. I think at TMLX 11 at Palma's Kitchen, that we're going to have recycle your old tech. You know, how many old phones do you have in a drawer somewhere? What do you do when you replace your phone because the battery doesn't last more than 20 minutes anymore or whatever? Hannah, what do you do with it? Do you throw it out? What do you do with your old tech?
It's basically my kid plays with a BlackBerry. It becomes a toy.
It becomes a toy. Okay, well, if you want to safely and properly, for Mother Earth here, recycle your old tech, that's where EPRA comes in, and they're going to be at TMLX 11 to collect old tech that FOTMs bring. What did you do at the Globe and Mail, Hannah?
I was a video producer there. I actually got hired as a video host, so randomly it was like a full circle kind of, I was standing in front of a camera again for this newspaper, which was odd.
Right.
But it's what I did.
Because they pivoted to video like so many did. Okay, so maybe before I realize, how did you leave MuchMusic? What you got? Did you...
I just left.
You just left?
I just left. Yeah,
you're on national television. And
I
you
know.
just
Is
left?
that weird?
A little bit. Is it because you felt they weren't compensating?
No,
you fairly?
God, no. There was
to dig up
no
some dirt
drama.
here.
No, I know. If there was drama, I would tell you because why not? It's a
Right.
million years later. No, I was just not enjoying my life, like I was saying, my day-to-day life, and you work there on yearly contracts if you're a VJ. And so I knew my contract was coming up, and I thought, I've got to figure out a way to not resign. And I didn't get a new job. I just took on this volunteering situation with Care Canada, and they it was just my way out. And so when the time came, I said, I don't thank you for everything, but I don't want to sign on for another year. And I was actually thinking about this time of my life on my way here, and it was a really nice parting because at first they said, well, can you rethink that and stay? And can you stay for a year? And I was like, no. Can you stay for a shorter amount of time? And I said, no, because I'd made up my mind. Now, looking back, how weird is that? Because you're right. I didn't have a plan.
Well, what about money? Didn't
Yeah.
you need some?
Yeah. And so, but just to finish that thought, after, I knew that they valued my work because they didn't want me to go, but they wished me the best. And it was perfectly nice. And so when I did leave, people were like, did you get fired? And it's like it's an interesting mindset that is the only way people could imagine you would leave a plum job like that.
Or the Strombo way, which is like, yeah, I'm quitting this job because you're going to see me at like on CBC next week.
Yeah. No, so that didn't happen to me. And like, what about money? I was saving and planning, frankly.
Smart.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Do you invest in RESPs for your kids?
I do.
Smart.
I do.
Listen, best advice. Okay, you're way ahead of me on that one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, I believe in planning financially. And so I
Can you lend me $20 before you go?
Well, are you good for it?
Maybe.
I did start actually investing soon after I got my job at Much, because it was my first regular paycheck. And I paid off my student loan. I paid off my credit card that I'd maxed out because I wasn't paying attention. And then I was like, oh, I better grow up. And I started investing. And, it's that financial cushion that you give yourself, or the kind of like taking away the like panic and terror that allows you to make some choices. So like maybe not all choices are open to you in life, or, everybody has a different amount of choices, but at least give yourself as many as you possibly can. And that's how I felt. So I did save to leave. And then the next few years I lived extremely frugally, and I kind of traveled the world just paying for my expenses and freelancing my writing to just get out of Toronto and get out of Canada. And then I started to need a job.
So what was the job you took when you realized you need to get a paycheck again?
Well, what I wanted to do was to work at the Toronto Star. I wanted, or one of the weeklies, or a magazine. I wanted to have a real full-time job working in news or cultural commentary. Like I wanted to work in journalism, specifically with text. I wanted to write, and I could not get hired anywhere. And the kinds of people who were coming to me were like kind of like radio or TV, and even like I found that the MuchMusic brand, especially at that time in Canadian media, preceded me into the room. So they either just wanted me for that, or they didn't want me at all because they didn't know me, and they didn't want to even get to know me. Like what I was capable of doing and what I'd done before going to a Much was like not really on anyone's radar. So it's like not to sound ungrateful, because I definitely don't want to be like that, because I loved all of my TV experience there. But it was like this crazy blast of hot white light that just blew out everything else. And I could not get hired.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I'm as a guy who's never worked in your industry, like I find that fascinating, but it does make sense when you put it that way. Like, and that's even a great analogy.
People didn't see me as a writer.
Right.
So I was like, oh, right. And at the time I was like 30 years old, and I called up the Star, and I was like really knocking on the doors of the arts editors and stuff. And they were like, well, maybe you could try our internship. Or maybe you should go back to school. Like a lot of recruiters at CBC were like, you need to go back to school, like go to journalism school. And I was like, maybe I could have done that because I was only 30. Like now I look back and 30 is young, but I was like, I felt too conspicuous at the time. And I should have not let that get in my way. I should have just done whatever I wanted to do. And I'm not saying that I should have necessarily gone back to school, but I felt too conspicuous to do something like go back to school, basically.
So what did you do?
Oh, I freelanced for many years. And that's when I really learned to hustle. And I learned that every little job I got, every short-term job I got was extremely useful for like learning different worlds and different teams and how things operate. So I worked on Project Runway Canada for a couple of seasons. So I got some experience in like the independent TV production world. I wrote a lot for different like travel sections of like basically AOL and MSN and the Star and stuff like that, because I was traveling. And what else did I do? I worked for the CBC for a couple of years doing their digital book club. So I was interviewing authors. I was cobbling together a lot of work. And I had the energy to do it then. And then I had my first baby. And after that, it's like, I didn't go back to that way of working, but I don't know that I would have been able to anyways.
Okay, fascinating. But
Yeah.
so whenabouts is the Globe and Mail chapter of your
Yeah, so
esteemed
I
career?
was 35 years old. I had a 1-year-old baby, and I got hired there, and it was my first full-time permanent job in Canadian media.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Well, what about MuchMusic would be the
That
first?
was
no?
a contract job.
Okay,
so
contract,
it was
right.
definitely like I got a salary and benefits.
Right,
It was
right.
great. Yeah, but I
Gotcha.
knew that my time would be up in a year, every
Right.
year.
Right. Okay. So you're so you're coming in during the great pivot as we look back at the media landscape, the great pivot to video, and you come in like to do videos, but at some point, like, how does that morph into production of podcasts?
Yeah. Well, so they hired me as a video host. So I did that, even though after much I had said to myself, I'm never going to go in front of a camera again.
Right.
But for the opportunity of working at the Globe and Mail, I was like, yeah, I can do it. And then
Right.
over time, I was able to work with, my manager to morph my job into being more about production. So I was producing videos, which was way more in line with what people wanted to watch in terms of like videos on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff anyway. And then in 2016, so I had been there for a few years, my colleague and I, Denise Balkasoon, we pitched a podcast about race in Canada, and the powers that be in the newsroom were like, yeah, sure, go for it. And nobody had made a podcast before at the Globe.
Okay.
And it was not a business interest of theirs at the time, but now it's really going strong. I'm very happy for them. And so we made this podcast, and it was like a grind because it was everybody was doing it for the first time. We didn't really know what we were doing, but it was also extremely exhilarating and gratifying.
And I bet you learned like a shitload from that experience.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so I love this. Okay, so you and Denise were you like doing it all yourselves, or?
Yeah, there was a small team. So she and I were producing and hosting it. And then there were like, maybe like Tim Moore was like recording it for us, and Danielle Webb was creating the interactive. And then a marketing person worked very closely with us, which is like, back then, that didn't always happen, that a marketing person would be working with you from the beginning. Katrina Bolak, shout out. Like, she was just so smart about podcasts. And honestly, like now it seems like a no-brainer because you can't just create something really wonderful. You need to connect it to people, and you need to have someone whose job it is because they know how to do that. So that was our tiny team. And then we also had the support of managers who would like listen to our first drafts and be like, that's garbage or that's great, And so I felt like in ways we were very supported, in other ways we were not, but ultimately I was happy with the way it turned out.
So I have a question about podcasting.
Yeah.
Okay, so a woman named Cece Wong and I have been chatting lately because she just started a podcast like on her own, like,
Cool.
and much like when I started, like, we're just people. Like, I know that sounds like, I'm not saying you're not a person, you are clearly a person, but like what I mean by
Thanks.
that is like, so this morning I was on Humble and Fred because I produced their show, but Humble and Fred were famous in this market because they were on the radio in the morning. Like, this is like, so I'm like, okay, so if you're an independent regular Joe or Jane or whatnot, and you're starting your podcast, how do you cut through the noise when, nowadays, like, okay, Maureen Holloway and Wendy Mesley no longer have mainstream media gigs. Guess what? They started a podcast, okay? Bob McCowan's no longer on primetime sports on the Fan 590. Okay, he's going to start a podcast. Don frickin' Cherry, okay? No longer on Hockey Night Canada. He's going to start a podcast. Like, these are super famous people in this country who are starting podcasts. So Hannah, what do we say to the people? Like, what would you say to me if I were going to start a podcast and I was going to start Toronto Mike? I'm just a guy in my basement and I have no mainstream media experience. I'm not famous. Like, how do you cut through the noise?
Mm-hmm. I would say clearly state your niche. Like, who are you? If those folks that you mentioned already have a relationship with a Canadian audience and we already know who they are, it's like they've got a leg up, obviously.
Right.
But you are also your own person with your own interests and your own whatever you're going to bring to the table. So tell people who you are and what you do. And if you need to be very specific too, because maybe you want to just show one slice or you want to explore one slice of who you are and what you bring to the table. What is your unique expertise? What is your unique access? Tell people what that is. And, even if you only start with 100 people listening to your show, that's amazing, because if they're listening, if they're getting something out of it, it will grow.
Well, that's for sure. Like the best, I would always say the best referral system for an independent podcaster is word of mouth. Like that FOTM who loves what they hear, and then they're telling their like 5 buds, you got to check this out. You'd love it. And the next thing you know, all 6 of them are showing up at a TMLX event. Like it's word of mouth because they like what they hear and they want others to enjoy it as well.
Absolutely. Word of mouth. That's
Word
what
of mouth.
community is, right?
Okay, good segue, Hannah. This is why you're from the TV world. You're good at this. Okay, so the segue, and I did mention Brad Jones and I were talking about community on Life's Undertaking yesterday because he was apparently at TMLXX for 3 hours watching me interact and with the people coming and everything. And he had a lot of things to say about the community he witnessed. Meanwhile, Rob Pruce was the keyboardist for Spoons during their heyday. Okay, Nova Heart, all that Romantic Traffic, all that good stuff. He was at TMLXX, came all the way from New York, by the way. That guy's awesome. Rob Pruce, shout out. But he wrote me a note when he heard you were coming on. Hi, Toronto Mike. I just read Hannah's New York Times article. It's great. The thing about group chats, my wife has multiple group chats going on at all times, different groups of friends and colleagues. He goes, I have more, maybe 1 or 2 sporadically, but after reading Hannah's essay, I think I understand more about group chats and the value. And he goes, hey, he wrote this in a group chat for FOTMs called the TMU, Toronto Mike Universe. And he says, this is a group chat and I'm in one right now. Thanks, Mike. So I was wondering if we could, before we wrap up with at the end of the day and what you're doing with Garvia, which I think is super cool. That's that whole, maybe I'll let you talk about it, but you just submitted this to New York Times and they said, oh, this is great, we're going to publish it. Like, how did you get this article in the New York Times?
Okay, that's a great question because actually, I pitched this editor at the Times who I actually know from a previous life, Indrani Sen. She's amazing. And I have a friend at the Times who said, you should pitch our opinion editor, and gave me her name. And I was like, I know Indrani. So I pitched her multiple times about BTS.
Okay.
And I wanted to write opinion pieces on BTS.
Okay.
And Indrani did not write me back.
Because enough of this butter nonsense, it should be called popcorn, she's saying. Yeah, okay.
Yes, that's how did you know? That was what I was writing about.
BTS.
But, I pitched something to her about BTS and she wrote me back and said, don't want this, but you mentioned group chats in your pitch. And I think she's familiar with my writing. And so she knows I can write. And she said, are you interested in group chats as a topic? And I said, hell yeah. I mean, that's basically, it was my lifeline during the pandemic, So we had a meeting, which I know is like an amazing gift to have with a great editor because everybody's like, go, 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 slam for time. You don't always have time to have a meeting. But we talked about it together. She said, well, what are your thoughts on group chats? And I gave them to her and then I wrote a draft and boom.
Boom goes the dynamite. So this, and again, there is it's a not so secret, I guess, but there is a like a Twitter DM group for Toronto Mike listeners. It's a FOTM group chat, and all day long it's going. Speaking of popcorn, it's going off like popcorn. You have to turn off the notifications for that one because there's a lot of activity. But it's like checking in. There's it's a great value, especially during the pandemic, but even beyond. So that was I agree with Rob. It was a fantastic article you wrote there, Hannah.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Rob, too.
How do you know Garvia Bailey?
Okay, so
do you know her? Do you want me to introduce you to her? Just kidding.
I love Garvia. She's the person that I maybe see most in my life, maybe more than my husband. I definitely talk to her more than my husband because we work together. So I think the first time I met Garvia, she's just one of those people who's like, when she walks around, she like knows everybody. And we used to live in the same neighborhood. Oh, she knows everyone. And honestly, I don't remember not knowing her. Like, I don't even remember how we met, but I do remember walking around the neighborhood and I'd see her with her daughter. This is before I even had kids. Right. And now her daughter is this beautiful adult. And So I just knew her from the Canadian media world.
Well, yeah, like from CBC. And
I should say the corner of like where I lived world.
Right.
But and then our mutual friend Inaba Duncan, who is the founder of Media Girlfriends, they're
Right.
close friends, and Inaba and I became close friends. So
Is she a professor
it kind of,
now or something?
She is. She's
Okay,
the
I
Carty
knew this.
Chair of like Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Studies in Journalism at Carleton.
Okay.
Yeah. So
'Cause I used to hear her on CBC radio all the time.
exactly. Yeah. And so Garvia and I and Inaba, the three of us, founded Media Girlfriends as a podcast company. It did pre-exist as a podcast that Inaba started. And we just like took the leap into building a business together as friends, which was a little bit scary because they are good friends of mine. And I was like, what if this doesn't work out,
Yeah.
But it has worked out, thank God. So that's how I know Garvia, is just from around.
Okay, so now it's you and Garvia are basically the partners involved with media.
We do
Girlfriends?
the daily work, and
Okay.
we have a staff producer as well, Elena Hudgens-Lyle, who is amazing.
Cool.
And then we work with a constellation of folks. And yeah, we're a small shop, but I like to think that we punch above our weight.
Oh, for sure. And what exactly is at the end of the day when it comes to like podcasting? Like, so obviously you mentioned earlier it's a weekly newsletter, but this is also a podcast, right?
Yeah. So, basically COVID happened and I was filled with just the need to connect with people and talk and write and synthesize
Right.
what I was, taking in terms of the daily fire hose of news. So I started at the end of the day as a newsletter. I wrote it every single week, still to this day, like it's been 2.5 years. And in the spring, we started a podcast with my producer, Olivia Trono. And so that's what that is. It's like me trying to make sense of the world through talking to other very wise people and learning from their experiences.
And now you and I, even though my checklist hasn't been updated in a few minutes here, but now you and I are kind of in the same universe. Like I spend my days basically immersed in the podcast universe, be it my own podcast or helping other people podcast and producing podcasts for other people. Like, so we're all like I said, we're all in the same gang here. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Amazing. Okay, you've been amazing. Like this has been awesome, and don't want to let you go though. I just wanted your opinion on this, and
Okay.
I'll be. Don't worry, it's nothing scary. But Farah Nasser's on next week, and I'll be hitting her up with the same question because I'm naturally curious. What are your thoughts about what's gone down at CTV News with Lisa LaFlamme? Like I'm just naturally curious in your particular perspective on this firing, I guess. I don't know. They bought her out of her contract and she's gone by Bell Media. But what are your thoughts on the Lisa LaFlamme story?
I think that my thoughts are not different from like every person in Canada. It makes no sense as a business decision, like none. So clearly it wasn't. And there's been a lot of great reporting on the issues that underlie such an unceremonious firing. Like when Robin Doolittle reported for the Globe that this former Bell Media executive was talking about gray hair, I mean, it was so important to get it documented in a newspaper of record what all of us were already talking about and suspecting, right? It's like, yeah, get people who were there in the meetings to talk about it and to speak to you on the record about the sexism and the ageism that's involved, Like, why would you take somebody who is this extremely decorated anchor who the public loves? Why would you take her off the air? That's not a business decision. That's something else, So I love that Canada's talking about that now. But it's a shame for, viewers who liked watching Lisa LaFlamme. And I hope Lisa LaFlamme is doing okay. I'm sure she's great. I hope she just, comes forth with something like exactly what she wants to do with her work and her energy, But it's such a stupid situation. And it's just a disaster of PR and publicity as well.
Well, I know that
for them.
He's on leave now, the gentleman you're referring to.
For sure.
He's Eminem.
Yeah, yeah.
MM's on leave now. I'm just again, I have no insight into this. I'm so far removed, but watching it closely and just naturally finding it all very rather fascinating. That this is apparently the most viewed show Canada produces is this CTV National News, and she was, like you said, well decorated. Like apparently she won awards as recently. It's a big
And
awards.
you know what? The thing to me that spoke the loudest immediately after, she put her Twitter video online is how many people spoke up about how she mentored them, how she treated them at work, the environment she created, that she would help them, etc. Like, it's not every day that when somebody leaves that everybody from their colleagues to viewers to just random people in the industry all speak up on your behalf to say, this person took the time out to talk to me and to, field questions. Like, she was clearly a very community-minded person in her industry and cared about like who was coming up behind her. And so that to me speaks volumes, about what kind of a person she is. I just think like what happened is chilling for younger people in the industry who are like, if this can happen to her, and I think that the industry has deservedly has a reputation of being quite cruel and heartless. And it's like, why do people have to work like that together? Why can't we work better together? I don't get it.
No,
personally.
I don't. I mean, I don't get it either. But I do know that the woman in charge of the news until like December 2021 was a woman named Wendy Freeman, and then when this Michael, and I can't remember his last name or I'd say it, but do you know Milling? Milling, yeah, Eminem here. When MM takes over, I won't even. I mean, there's a lot of smoke here, but I won't assert that he's misogynist or ageist, even though there's some smoke there. I don't know. I don't have a clue. But I do know this does reek of a personal nature. Like this is sounds to me like there's something personal between Wendy Freeman's replacement and Lisa LaFlamme, and that he wanted her gone, and that's what happened here. So it's just interesting. We'll keep watching this. I know that Wiseblot's going to want to talk more about this later tonight, so I gotta save something in the arsenal here. But I always interested in your perspective on these matters. And it stinks, right? It smells. Mm-hmm. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark, right, Hannah?
Yes. I don't know how Denmark came into it.
Well, that's, I'm always quoting Shakespeare on this program because at U of T I majored in English. So, you never know what you're going to get here. Hannah, you're now in FOTM. Do you remember what FOTM stands for?
Friends of Toronto Mike. Okay.
Wear this badge of honor with pride. You and Garvia are in the same club. Hello to Garvia if she's listening at home. We missed you at TMLXX. And Hannah, this will be in the feeds 5 minutes after our photo. So thanks so much for dropping by today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mike. I had a blast.
And that brings us to the end of our 1107th show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. Hannah, are you at Hannah Sung on Twitter?
Yeah, that's me.
Follow Hannah. Even though she took time off this summer, you took a Twitter break?
Yeah, but I'm back.
She's back, baby. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta's at Palma Pasta. I'm going to get you lasagna for you. Ooh. Sticker U is at Sticker U. I'll help you put that on your car. Just kidding. Electronic Products Recycling Association are at EPRA_Canada. Ridley Funeral Home are at Ridley FH. And Canna Cabana are at Canna Cabana _. See you all later today when my special guest is Mark Wiseblot.
Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow warms me today. And your smile is fine, and it's just like mine, and it won't go away. 'Cause everything is rosy and gray. Well, you've been under my skin for more than 8 years. It's been 8 years of laughter and 8 years of tears.
stocks, the class struggle explodes. And I play this guitar just the best that I can. Well, maybe I'm not, and maybe I am. But who gives a damn? Because everything is coming up rosy and green. Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow warms me today. And your smile is fine, and it's just like mine, and it won't go away. 'Cause everything is rosy and gray. Well, I've kissed you in France, and I've kissed you in Spain. And I've kissed you in places I better not name. And I've seen the sun go down on Sacré-Cœur. But I like it much better going down on you. Yeah, you know that's true, because everything is coming up rosy and green. Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow warms us today.